Hello everyone, welcome to Travel Talk Tuesday. It's Mike, Tamara, and Michael here with you. And we've kicked Chrissy out of the hot seat and we've welcomed Tamara to join us. So we're here and we're ready for another good week of Travel Talk Tuesday. How have you guys been?
Good. The bigger question is, how have you been?
Well, I'm still a little sleepy. I just got back and I'm recovering from all that travel. You know, as you guys know, and it's a lot of work to get over wherever you're going and travel. And a lot of planning and a lot of that goes into it. So when you're there, you're high energy and you're all ready to experience whatever site you're going to. Then you come back and travel and you're just exhausted afterwards a lot of times. A good exhaustion though. So, and I came back, was talking all about Greece. And so we thought today we would kind of focus on Greece because we all have different connections and connections to Greece right now because we've either been there or working on trips there. So we thought we'd focus this week on Greece and what everyone needs to know in order to have a great trip or some ideas and share some stories. And so that's what we're going to cover in this week's Travel Talk Tuesday. So Tamara was the first in the group that went to Greece, and so she was giving me pointers. One of the benefits of using a travel agent is having someone that has the experience. So Tamara, why don't you tell us a little bit about your trip, when you went, what you experienced when you went to Greece?
So we went before COVID, and the reason we picked Greece is because we found cheap airfare. And that's kind of one of my tips for you all this morning is how I travel is I base my destinations not only on like places I want to go, but I base it on where I find cheap airfare. So we found a great deal to Greece, to Athens. We sort of turned that trip into 3 trips. So we flew into Athens, spent a couple days in Athens, jumped on a hydrofoil and went to one of the islands.
What's a hydrofoil?
A hydrofoil is a high-speed boat. So there's plenty of hydrofoils that leave Athens regularly and take you to the Greek islands. So we spent time at the island of Hydra, which is spelled Hydra, which is it's not a super touristy island. It's probably where Greeks go for vacation. It's not like where you just visited. We can talk about that in a minute, which is a more tourist-oriented island. Lovely island. No cars are allowed on the island, so it was a great experience.
How did you get around?
We walked. And I gotta tell you, that island was gorgeous. The bluest water I've ever seen. It was so nice to hike from little village to village. We actually stopped at one of the little taverns on the side of the ocean, Mediterranean Sea, and enjoyed some tapas or some appetizers and some cocktails. It was lovely. So after we left that island, we went to the Peloponnese region of Greece, which is sort of the western peninsula. It's separated by the Corinth Canal, and in that area, it's sort of the undiscovered part of Greece. Olympia's over there, lots of relics, lots of ruins. A city called Nafplio, which is a gorgeous city, but again, it's not a touristy area of Greece. It's more of it's where the Greeks really live and work and play, and they vacation there. Back to Athens after that, and toured all the standards, the Acropolis, the Parthenon, and from there, we since we were already in Greece, my oldest son was like, well, if we're in Greece, we might as well jump a flight to Turkey. So we went to Istanbul for a few days. And then after we left, we had a 24-hour layover in London, which gave us the opportunity to explore London on our way home. So it was sort of 3 trips in one. But Greece itself was gorgeous. I have lots of tips I would be happy to share with all of you. One of the most interesting things that happened is we rented a car to explore Greece, and I knew I had to rent a automatic car because most of the cars in Europe are not automatic. And the only automatic they had when we arrived was called a Micra. It was tiny.
That doesn't sound good. No. With this kind of muscle that some of us have, a Micra, I don't know.
It was tiny, but we managed to make it work, and that was my only choice. So
with luggage too?
3 big suitcases and 3 people, and the car was like my kids were bigger than the car. It was I have a picture. I'll put it on Facebook. It's a tiny car, but lots of fun. I highly recommend Greece as a place to travel to.
You know what's interesting is all 3 of us, just like everyone else, seems to travel completely different.
We do.
So Tamara's trip of a full immersion, fully into the culture, I get anxiety thinking about driving a little box wheel car around around an island that I know nothing about with no information. Whereas I like to take things a little bit more comfortable, I'll say that, a little bit easier, I guess, travel. And then Mike is an adventure travel and does things completely different too. But I guess it kind of shows when we share stories about what kind of trips we want to take, how we want to book travel, how it shows our differences, but how it also shows how everyone else has such differences on what they're looking for when they're traveling. I think that's probably one of the benefits that we bring to the table as the different experiences, different ways of traveling that we're going to help you get there. So looking back, we talked about Tamara's experience of Greece. We're going to look forward because right now Mike is booking a trip to Greece right now. So Lilj, how about you tell us about that trip, what you're working on, and what exciting things are happening?
Yeah, it's actually a honeymoon, kind of like Tamara's trip, where it's kind of 2 in 1 because they're also going to go to the Amalfi Coast, which is in Italy. But their first stop is going to be in Santorini, which is one of the Greek islands. And it's funny, not having been there myself. You have to dive in. You do a lot of research on the area, and I've actually researched a lot of the Greek islands, and there's a whole string of islands there from Santorini to Mykonos with like 4 or 5 in between that you can take a ferry in between, and you can kind of experience something different at each island. And Santorini, not that they're not all a little bit romantic, but Santorini feels like the one that's the perfect honeymoon destination, and it's going to be a little bit expensive. So if you want to plan a trip to Santorini, save up a little bit, but I think it's going to be well worth it. There's a little bit for everybody. You've got a lot of like natural wonders and sights. You've got all kinds of winery tours. You've got all kinds of boat tours that take you to all the hot spots around the island. You've got places in the island where you could stay where you're on a cliff overlooking the ocean. You've got places where you could stay where you're down on the beach and there's beach clubs. It just kind of all depends on what you're into, but it's definitely a great place to plan ahead for a honeymoon. But definitely plan ahead because, like I said, it's not going to be cheap to get you to Santorini.
So did you offer to go along as their personal guide, as a third wheel? If you
we can find a guide for them.
Yeah, I did not. I would honestly, if it was me, I would be at Mykonos just chilling in a beach club the whole time. But Santorini, and you were just there, part of your cruise. It looks beautiful, and the architecture and kind of the picturesque overlook of the water and everything looks amazing in person, I'm sure.
Yeah, so last week I came live from the ship and was talking all about the trip there, and so we went to Santorini, Rhodes, Mykonos, and Piraeus or Athens, and those were like the Greek stops that we had, those 4 stops. And like you said, they're so beautiful, but I found myself just taking pictures nonstop that I wasn't even experiencing the moment, the breathtaking moment, the ones you saw these pictures of and everything, because I was so worried about getting pictures and video and all that stuff. But everywhere you looked, it was just beautiful. I mean, the buildings, the water, the view, the people were wonderful, the food was awesome, some great experiences. I went on a number of excursions. So, on cruises, you get on the cruise, then you hit these stops, you have a couple options. You either free go off the boat and explore yourself, the more Tamara route of travel, or you go safe and you do an excursion with a trusted individual that your life is in their hands and you're in good hands, hopefully. So I did the excursions in each and got to see a lot of the different culture, a lot of the highlights of the cities. On cruises, you don't go quite as much in depth because you're kind of doing a broader selection of different sites. You're kind of getting like an overview with the thought that you can come back and maybe do something deeper, or if you're hoping to see the whole world, it's quick sites here and there, seeing everything. So for us, it was a good introduction to the Greek islands and the wonderful people and food. Every time I come back, I'd say it's time for the diet, and I think it's time for the diet again. They say the Mediterranean diet's supposed to be good for you, but
Yeah, but you're going on another cruise.
There's no such thing as too many cruises. So
I got a quick fact about Greek islands. How many do you think are inhabited? How many inhabited Greek islands are there?
Okay, so Santorini, that was made up of 4 or 5 islands, and I think only 2 of those were actually inhabited.
There's 220 inhabited Greek islands. So Mykonos, Santorini, Rhodes, those are the popular ones that everybody wants to go to. But there's a lot of other really cool islands to explore in Greece as well, besides those biggies.
Yeah, and you guys mentioned the ferries too. That was the interesting thing in the port, is how many ferries that go to all these different islands. And that was a new thing for me to realize that for the locals, that's what they do. They either working or they're going to vacation or visit these little islands throughout the area. And some pretty cool looking ferries and some old looking ferries, but it's a different way of transportation. I think of the Jet Express here in town of Sandusky going to Cedar Point and the islands here, and I guess that's our little version.
Mm-hmm.
So great experiences. Thanks for sharing those. Tamara, jumping back to yours, thinking back to all those experiences you had, can you name one highlight? What was your favorite thing or the best story or your best memory that you and the boys still laugh about or think about often, talk about often? What would be that one thing that stood out to you the most?
Oh, there were lots. I mean, we were glad to see the classics like the Acropolis and the Parthenon, but I think being on the Peloponnese, and there was a little town, a town that's abandoned, it's been abandoned, it's called Mistras, and wasn't heavily touristed at all, and it was just peaceful to walk around with my boys, looking at this town that for some reason no longer exists, but the relics are still there, beautiful churches, interesting buildings. I think that may have been my highlight because I don't think it's something that's on many people's. It's not heavily touristed at all.
Is it just ruins of the city, or is it like abandoned, empty buildings?
Both. We're talking over 1,000,
Oh, okay.
2,000 years old, but still artwork on the church walls and multiple churches, multiple buildings. It was a very, very large site, and we may have been one of 5 people exploring it that day. It was a beautiful day. I think that was probably my highlight, but there were many, many highlights. It's really a great place to visit.
Okay. Mike, you're planning the honeymoon. So, of all that research you've done a lot. What's the one site now you've added to your bucket list that you have to do, you want to experience, that you want to make a memory at because you've learned about it?
Well, I'm kind of a history guy. That's always been one of my favorite subjects going through school. Shout out to Mr. Kohler. And you mentioned Santorini is actually, it's made up of a couple different islands. That's because there was a lot of volcanic activity and new islands were formed, and part of the island was cut off. Well, they have a site called Akrotiri there, which is a village. A lot of people have heard the story of Pompeii getting covered in a volcanic eruption, but that happened at Akrotiri too. And you can actually go into this active dig site and they'll give you a tour through it, and that's the kind of history stuff that I find pretty interesting. It's also connected to winery tours, so that's a bonus too if you're
The real reason.
if you're into winery tours. I'm not much of a wine drinker myself, but that would be a bonus for people who are into that kind of thing.
I think I found that in Greece too. Like, you can go anywhere and find like history, and it's cool history, and sometimes it's not. Often it's not a tourist site like the Acropolis. It's just history there.
Yeah. One thing about Europe that you mention all the time is they don't tear down and rebuild like we do here in the United States. They do a great job of maintaining their buildings. So sometimes you'll go into a building and it'll be 1,000 years old, and it'll be the same building, just they've done an amazing job of maintaining it.
Definitely. And they'll build around things, but they preserve their history.
I think for me, a great memory, and this is not necessarily Greece related, but for me, one of the benefits I like about cruising is you meet a lot of different people, crazy people, interesting people, fascinating people, is going around to these islands and experiencing them, the Greek islands, through their perspective too. Whether it's the couple that couldn't stop talking about their 20 grandkids, or whether it's the widow that's on her 20th cruise, and from her perspective, everything, and to hear people talk about their experiences and compare the different cruises and compare the different islands and different places in Greece or around the world they've traveled, for me, is probably one of the most fascinating things that I enjoy and look forward to the most too. So
were you the crazy person or the interesting person or the...
Let's not get into that right now, okay?
I have a question too. We all know that you're such an animal lover. Did you see lots of roaming cats and dogs in Greece? Because I remember that when I went.
No dogs, but I saw lots of cats, and so in case you didn't know this, Chrissy, our coworker, our teammate, is in love with cats, and so I take pictures of the cats and save them so that she can see them, and she oohs and ahs over them more than Hannah and Hayden, I think. She likes the cat pictures better. Sorry, no offense. But a lot of the tourists were doing the same thing. They were more fascinated about the cats sprawled out in the monastery courtyard than they were the tower, the marble tower and stuff. So, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cats.
We saw lots of dogs in Athens, and they were trained. They like knew the stoplights, so they knew on red they could not cross, and when it was green, they went across the street. It was kind of fascinating.
I saw some roadkill, but I didn't see the dogs, so I don't know.
Yeah, we saw lots of dogs.
Sorry.
They greeted us at the Acropolis.
See, no, I didn't see dogs, to be honest with you. Lots of cats. But so we're talking about Greece, different experiences, different things we're looking for. In your experience, who's Greece for then? Tell me who's the ideal, who's it not for, or what are you thinking?
Well, I don't want to take your thunder, but I think it's great for honeymooners or couples. And I also think Greece is great for multi-generational family trips. So,
really?
Yeah.
Big families.
Yeah, I really think so. I think Greece is perfect for grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, and the kids, because there's a little bit of something for everyone, and it's fairly easy to get around, especially if you have a guide that takes you. Or we had our micro
difference maker.
Yeah. Having a guide, I think, is the best way to do it. But we drove it ourselves, which we managed to do it. But I do think it's a multi-gen place.
I do want to side note on the guide thing. Because I was talking to a couple that's booked through us, and they were ranting and raving about the guide. And they said they would never go back to a non-guide person. How much extra? What's the value? How much extra is getting a guide on a tour like that? Obviously, I'm not gonna take a guide to Cedar Point. But if you go to a place like that where I don't know a lot about, and haven't done a lot of research like you might, what kind of price range would a family be looking at for a guide or?
Well, I think having a guide makes the difference between just seeing something and actually understanding a place. And a guide, you can have a guide for a day, a guide for a couple of hours. It runs all over the place. But to me, it's a value that's added that's worth the price. And it's totally location dependent. So you can find a guide for $50 an hour somewhere, or you can find a guide for $1,000 for a day. It depends on a lot of different factors. Is transportation included? Are you walking?
Mm-hmm.
You can bike with a guide. You can motorcycle with a guide, which we'll be talking about that down the road. Yeah. So to me, a guide makes a difference.
Well, we have a lot of partner companies that we work with that put together tours in all these places, and I think one of the more affordable ways to travel is to do one of these tours, because so much isn't included. When you pay for the tour, that might cost, say, $2,000 a person, but that includes your night stay in different locations, all your transportation, a good chunk of your meals, a guide to show you around in all the cities that you're going to. So I think the more people that we send to travel that way who rave about it, it seems like it's not a bad way to go. And a lot of these tours, they give you plenty of free time. I think that's the big misconception that people have to get over, that I don't want my day to be scheduled 24 hours a day. I want to be able to explore. Well, these companies do a good job of 50-50, where they take you places, but then they give you all kinds of free time to explore on your own. And another benefit of these tours is they get you into places skipping the lines, where you don't have to wait 2 hours to go through the Louvre or to see the Parthenon or the Acropolis or something like that. They can take you right to the front of the line too.
Absolutely.
So no matter the budget, then sounds like
we can find a fit for you.
Yeah. So if you don't have a lot of money, I could, and a guide interests me because it could take some of the work off me. I could go with a group and get a reasonable price then.
Absolutely.
Or, we get a big pay raise, from the boss, then I can afford a private guide, right?
Goals.
Okay. That's good. Okay, so we talked a lot about Greece, and I think we covered anything else we're missing on Greece you guys wanted to share? Tamara, you had an interesting story, I think. Maybe an embarrassing story, if I remember correctly.
This is a great tip for all of you. So
when we were planning this.
Yeah. So I always I take a little bit of cash in whatever denomination that country uses before I go, which I think when I went to Greece, I had 20 or 30 euro. My first stop when I land at the airport is to find an ATM and take out cash. I forgot to do it at the airport in Athens. So next morning, Saturday morning, we're walking early in Athens. I find an ATM, I stick my card in. It goes in almost all the way, but then it stops. So my card is sticking out and I can't get it out, and the machine shuts down. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no cash. My card is sticking out in this ATM downtown Athens. What do I do? So long story short, I could not get my card out. I had to call. We had to cancel the card, which left me without an ATM card. My older son was traveling with us, so I thought we'll just use his card. Well, he had gotten his new card, and you know how you have to put it in a machine in your network at home before you can use it? He didn't do that. So we had no ATM card and about 30 euro between us. And this was Saturday morning. Monday was the bank holiday in Greece, but it wasn't in the US. So we had to really budget our money. Not everywhere takes a credit card, which of course we had those, but so Monday morning we got it all straightened out. We were able to use my son's credit card or debit card to get cash out, and I never got my card back from Athens. It's somewhere in Athens. I got a new one. But my lesson and my tip to all of you is make sure when you travel you have 2 debit cards. So in case something happens, you have access to something else, maybe 2 different accounts, because I would have been in trouble without some euro.
Tamara's card is like the new sword in the stone, by the way. Now people go running and trying
The homeless people really trying to yank that thing
Yeah.
out.
Oh my gosh, I panicked. What do I do? I need cash.
You know, there's a lot that has to do with money when you travel. I think that's a good point. I hear my mom yelling at me anytime I travel, always have cash, or anytime you have cash on you. And I got caught in Naples with only $20 in cash, and I went to a little coffee shop, and I asked credit card, and they said, yeah. I sat down, and I think at the end they said no credit, and all I had was $20 in US cash. And so they were very nice. They let me go look. They sent me to one bank. Then that guy, the police officer, sent me to another bank, and that was like a 10-minute ordeal to go find my $18 in euros for my $20. And then I came back, and they weren't surprised to see me, so they knew I'd come back. And there's a lot of that extra stuff with the money thing that I think is a benefit of using a travel agent to help you think that stuff through and help make sure you're prepared for your trips.
Yeah, we do that now. We help people. We didn't help. We should have helped you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. I was cursing your name, Lilj. Thanks.
Oh, we don't want to even talk about how you booked your own flight to get to the
Yeah,
cruise.
gosh, let's not go into that. Let's turn to positive topics, okay? So we're going to turn to our travel agency, The Good Life Travel Company, and share some exciting news with you. We often talk about it on social media and on our Travel Talk Tuesday. We're out about what makes a travel agent so important for your travel experience, like why use a travel agent. And one of the things we talk about a lot is how experienced our team is, and how well trained our team is. And so we have got a number of upcoming experiences that we want to share with you that we are training for you so that we can make sure we're better travel agents. And one of those experiences is coming up this week. Lil, do you want to tell us about what the team is doing this week?
Yeah, actually, tomorrow morning we're on our way down to Miami, and we're going to be on a 5-day Virgin Voyage cruise, and it'll be my first cruise ever, so I'm excited to kind of check it out and see what it's all about, and hopefully we'll enjoy some good weather, but we'll definitely bring back a lot of pictures, videos, information about Virgin Voyages and the places that we stop along the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of interest in Virgin. You know, it's a brand new company. I think they just launched their 3rd of the ships. This is a lot of itineraries. We've had a lot of people asking about it. Some of us have already experienced it, so we're excited to share that with our good friends and teammates here, and eventually sharing with all of you so we can get you booked on some fun Virgin Voyages. After that, one of our teammates is continuing the education. Tamara, you want to tell us what Chrissy, your sister, is going to be up to then?
She is going to Cancun to check out some all-inclusives, and she's got a number of them lined up. She's got a whole day where she's with a professional who will take her for some site visits, and she'll be bringing back information about some of the wonderful resorts, all-inclusive resorts in Cancun.
So we need to make sure she doesn't just tell us her favorite drink at each resort, Chrissy, but that, you know, what resorts, because just like cruise lines, just like hotels, they each have their own look and feel about what kind of experience you're going to have with those all-inclusive. So I'm excited to hear her perspective after that so that we can help better match up individuals with the all-inclusive resort that's for them, whether it's a honeymoon, multi-generational, vacation, getaway, family getaway, couple getaway, whatever it is, that she can do a great job in helping plan those trips for everyone there. And then I've got another training coming up in a week or two, going aboard Royal Caribbean's ship, the Navigator of the Seas, which was not too long ago, was one of those refresh ships. I was last on that before the refresh one, was a newer ship, and so They now have itineraries out of Los Angeles, so there's a big push on that, seeing the West Coast into Mexico and seeing some of those experiences. So I look forward to bringing some of that knowledge back about Royal Caribbean, their exciting ships and itineraries. So we are always trying to learn more, experience more, so that we can help plan better vacations for all of you, so you can live the good life, because that's what our goal is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and make sure you look for us at Bike Week. We're gonna have a tent down at downtown for Bike Week.
Yeah.
So stop by, say hello, learn about some trips and all kinds of trips. We're gonna do some motorcycle-based stuff for sure, but we'll be talking about any kind of trip you want to talk about.
Yeah, Lilch found this a company that does motorcycle tours throughout Europe, and it is fascinating.
Awesome.
So we're gonna we'll do a whole Travel Talk Tuesday on that and about Bike Week, and we'll have a special drawing at Bike Week too. So if you're gonna be there, make sure you stop by for a voucher for travel. So we're working on putting our new tent together. Lil just telling us he tells us what we have to do. He's very bossy with the new tent, so we're learning, and then we're gonna get it all ready for him to make sure he's happy. But look for us again at Bike Week, and then we'll have a Travel Talk Tuesday about that coming up. Also, for exciting news for us as a company, we don't have a storefront. We're going to be hopefully moving into some new offices, internal offices that are being fixed up right now. So we're very excited about that. And eventually have a new studio. So we'll have a different setting that you'll see. You'll be stuck with us on Travel Talk Tuesdays eventually, working on that. And so a lot going on with the Good Life Travel Company.
We're busy.
We're busy.
Yeah.
No rest for the wicked, I think is what they always say, right? So I think that's everything we have, right? Am I missing anything?
Nope.
I think next week we'll rehash some stuff on our experiences on Virgin. We'll talk about those trips and some more exciting travel news. But we want to thank all of you for tuning in to our Travel Talk Tuesday. Certainly stay connected with us online on social media. Like, share, comment, all that good stuff. And certainly keep recommending us to your friends so that we can help them experience a good life through travel as well. So thank you everyone for watching. We hope you take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.